So the first thing we want to do is we're going to, I'm going to put that kneaded eraser away so I don't use it. We're going to draw everything out with our pencil first. And remember simple shapes. You want to start out with his head, and that head should be about at least the size of a baseball, if not a little bit bigger. So I'm going to start out with his head right here. Here's his head. And almost to the top of the page. Remember to draw large. And drawing with charcoal, it is much, much easier if it's large. You can get some small, tight details, but for the most part, you want to draw large. Did you know the first Iron Man costume was designed in Salt Lake City, Utah? And it really doesn't matter as far as erasing goes here, because once we start with charcoal, all this graphite will kind of blend with it. Usually charcoal and graphite don't blend well together, but for your first drawing, it works just fine. Notice his eyes are right in the middle of his head. That's about normal. When you're doing human proportioning and you finally get the size of the head the way you want it, those eyes are about right in the middle. You've got a lot of cranium, a lot of head space. It's covered up with hair, so we don't often think of it, but when you're proportioning, you really do need to think about the size of the head. And I'm just giving myself some guidelines here. I probably draw more with this pencil than I need to. But I just want some guides to kind of help me. And later on, if I look at them and I think, oh, those are in the wrong place, I always change them. You do want to kind of get in the habit, though, of trying to draw as fast as you can. You get a more accurate shape with speed. And this isn't really the fun stuff. The fun stuff is all the details, getting down to doing all that. So you want to get through that as fast as you can. And like most places, when you're drawing, if you're drawing people at least, the head's probably the most important part. Everything else kind of falls into place after that. You guys understand that my drawing here is a guideline. It's not, you shouldn't be looking at my drawing. You should be looking at your own, doing your own thing, comparing all your stuff to the scrap and not to my drawing. Once you have enough information though, I mean, basically you just need a basic outline. Because when you start doing your shading, your values with the charcoal, it's going to go very fast. So I'm going to just kind of now get rid of my pencil and start with my charcoal. And again, I don't want to draw a line around everything. I want to just kind of look at it and go, okay, where's my darkest areas? Where can I just put some nice dark edge? Charcoal is going to go black to begin with. And so there's really not a lot of pressure that you put on charcoal. So it's very nice. So now I'm going to start out like I would with ink. Just kind of figure out where my darkest areas are. What can I put in? What can I leave out? Remember to break your edges. If there is an edge, like this on this little, I don't know what this is, this little, invent, the spoiler, whatever it is. There's a lot of light edges. The light is your edge. So you don't draw the light. The light's already done for you. So you just draw the dark areas. Leave it broken. There's kind of a dark shadow across the top of his head. I'm going to put that in there. Like I say, there's a lot of edge that you just don't draw a complete line. Leave it out. When in doubt, leave it out. And always come back later. So again, I'm just drawing the dark edges, taking it piece by piece. You got to fight, if you're left-brained, you got to fight against that urge to do everything all at once. Your left brain wants to just draw a line around everything and leave it. So see how I'm shading it as I go? And that edge will be defined by itself later on. I don't have to draw everything. Once I get into my cotton swab, start blending it all with that, it's going to go really fast. That's the cool thing about this. So I'm just taking it step by step, piece by piece. It's almost like when I draw, it's like a puzzle. I'll just take that piece of that puzzle and put it together. And also at this point, I haven't smeared anything. I'm going to really wait to not to the end, but till I'm ready for it to smear. Charcoal, though, will act just like graphite. You want just a little bit on there, just very soft touch. This is a great example of our values that we started right from the very start. We said, whenever there's a change in direction, there's got to be a change in value. If you notice the steel plating, every time there's a little facet or a little change, the value has to change. And you pick it out really a lot with the light that hits it, and you say, oh, I see that change. Every time I'll do a little side of a plane, and there's a change. As it curves or twists or angles, there's got to be a change. So once you have enough of that charcoal down on there and you think, okay, I'm ready to do a little bit of blending, a little bit of smearing around, you can take your cotton swab and just pick up some charcoal somewhere. You can blend a little bit here and there. I'm just going to go along and just kind of smooth out some of the darkest areas I've got. But along with that, once I'm ready, I can take that and bring it right into other parts. So as you smooth it around, you can take that charcoal and bring it in, do other things with it. Probably not quite enough for me, but it's getting there. And if it's light, just leave it out. You can always come back in later on and darken it up a little bit more too. Just like color too, you want to just layer in your values. In other words, you start out kind of gray, not real dark. And the more you add, the darker it gets. The smoother it gets, the nicer it gets. Now, if you're a little impatient, sometimes I get a little impatient. I think, I want that charcoal to darken up immediately. I really want it to go dark. There's a couple things you can do. One of them is you can take a piece of tracing paper and take an old piece of charcoal. Here's Here's a stick of charcoal that's kind of short and small. I'm just going to scribble some off onto my tracing paper, as dark as I can like this. Then I can take my cotton swab and I can pick some up from here. I can move it out to here. So I can pick it up like, it's kind of like painting, where you can pick it up off your tracing paper there and then move it over. So it becomes a little more versatile. You can do the same thing with graphite, although graphite is not as easy to do as charcoal is. But once you get your brush loaded, you can just start painting, drawing painting, with your cotton swab. Just like this. And look how fast that goes, and very smooth and nice. Now the thing about charcoal is you do want to spray it. You can spray it several times during your drawing process. And it's kind of up to you how much you spray. I personally don't like to spray it until I'm almost done. Some people like to spray it as they go. Just remember that you can't erase it once you've sprayed it. So you have to be happy with it the way it is. Now, here's some little spots here. There's some little light areas on here, little shines and things like that. And I don't want to spend the time to keep those off or to remove them. I shouldn't say that, not to remove them, but to leave them out. That's a lot of stuff to leave out. So I could go back in with my kneaded eraser and just touch those, and because the charcoal smears easily, you can get rid of that. So for example, right here down the nose, I can just go through and take my kneaded eraser and just touch that just a little bit and get some of those little light areas. And if you blend too much into one area, use that kneaded eraser to clean it up. Another thing I like about this method of drawing too is as I draw, I'm sharpening my point. So if I need to get in and do some really tight details somewhere, I've got a nice sharp point for that. You can make this charcoal look very photographic. In fact, you can make it look better than the picture. I also have vine charcoal. If you ever want to try vine charcoal is just sticks of a willow tree that they've put into a furnace and almost burned it. Not quite, but they take out a lot of the energy that's out of it, and it becomes charcoal. That's a little more messy, but a lot of people like that spontaneous kind of a thing. More of a fine art thing than it really a commercial art thing. Commercial art tends to be a little more controlled, probably because there's specific things that you have to do with commercial art, whether it's advertising or whatever it is. Very specific. So some things you can leave out, and other things that you can do with your kneaded eraser. If it's a larger area, I just leave it out. If it's a little teeny tiny area, use your kneaded eraser. So like right here, I noticed this needs to go a little brighter. because I probably smeared into it where I shouldn't have. And that's okay. I'm just going to leave it out for now, and then I can come back into it later on with my kneaded eraser. And pull that light out just a little bit more. You can dab it. There's a little shine over there. So that's what you want. Keep that contrast, really high contrast. So again, once I've loaded this cotton swab, there's just so much I can do with it. And the more I get in there, the more I can do with it. And all that smearing becomes my friend. See how that high contrast makes that look like metal? Deep, rich, dark values, light highlights. Talking to a guy the other day about getting into UVU. I don't know if you guys are deciding where you want to go to college yet, but UVU has a pretty good program, animation, game design, things like that. If that's something you want to get into, you got to really start thinking about this really pretty early. He loves to do models and clay and things like that. And that's what he got in. I don't know if you've noticed how I will leave little edges out, and then when I smear them, I'll get those little edges in there, but they're not white, they're not bright. If they need to be, I can always go back in and touch them with my kneaded eraser, pull them out and make them a little brighter. And I still blend a lot with my fingers. It's an old habit. Not a good one. It's just a habit. Here where these little tiny shines are, I just kind of try to leave them out as best you can, but then you got to just ultimately come back in with your kneaded eraser and just pull them out. Sometimes after I've drawn, I have to stop and go, oh, wait a minute, that's not dark enough, or, I didn't do enough there. So I have to go back into it and darken in some things. Just is the way it is. You're never done. Once you get enough graphite on your cotton swab, you can start drawing with it. There's some edges that are very soft. Not soft as in they're fuzzy, but soft as in they're smooth, and you can get those right immediately with that cotton swab. There's a good place for a well. Yeah. So because it's very, very, very dark, you can take my charcoal and really cover that nice and dark, knowing that I can always come in with my cotton swab, blend it out, put some more graphite or more charcoal on my cotton swab, and start drawing with it. And I could bring it from here out. Now, as I draw, I can draw just with my cotton swab and get those nice grays. All this drawing is done with just the cotton swab. So you can do a whole lot of that shading stuff just with that cotton swab. like painting with dry media. Hopefully you get the idea of what high contrast can do for you. It can really make your piece just pop, make it come out, make it much more special than some of those mid-tone grays that we're kind of used to doing. What do you do if you have a really light edge, like right here on his shoulder where it's really light right up there and then it picks up some darkness over there? What do you do? How do you make that shoulder look like it's really coming through? Yeah, just leave it out. Don't get intimidated by the fact that you need a line around everything. Leave it out. If you think, I need something there, you could probably put part of a line in there, just enough so that your viewer knows what it is. But the rest of it, just leave it out. Things with single light sources are much easier to draw. This one has multiple light sources, and so it's a little difficult. It does help that shiny kind of look to it, but even if you don't know what something is, like there's all these little gears or gadgets or gizmos right here. I have no idea what they are. That doesn't matter. Just drawing the shapes of the darks and lights, and whatever it is, it'll come through. Hopefully. And if it doesn't, it's not a big deal. It's a great way of drawing metal, though. And if you ever get into game design, you got to do it. There's a lot of metal things. How much time we got? 1 minute is all?
You have a good day, Mr.
Oh, thank you. Make sure your name's on this. Sign it. I hope you have a nice weekend.
Never. I will have to ban.